Today, Taiwan is holding recall elections for 24 of its 113 MPs, with a further 7 due in late August. These recall elections have been organised by civil society groups against the KMT, who are accused of selling Taiwan out to mainland China and using their 52-seat plurality in the Taiwanese legislature to obstruct the agenda of Democratic Progressive Party President Lai Ching-te. So in this video, we're going to take a look at what's happening in Taiwan and why today could be a real turning point. Dive deeper into politics with our magazine Too Long. Yep, we make a real physical magazine. In the latest issue, we discuss how El Salvador and Kosovo became 21st century penal colonies. We ask 6 experts what drives anti-establishment sentiment around the world, and ask if we're observing the end of the American order. Find out more by clicking the link in the description. To understand Taiwan's politics, you need a bit of context. Until 1949, China was intermittently in a state of civil war, fought between the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, and the Kuomintang government, or KMT. For most of this time, Taiwan was actually a Japanese territory, but it was returned to China in 1945. In 1949, the CCP defeated the KMT in mainland China and established the People's Republic of China on the mainland. The KMT then fled to Taiwan, where they continued the Republic of China. Both the CCP and KMT claimed to be the rightful rulers of China, despite the fact that the KMT only had effective jurisdiction over Taiwan, and still do today. Now, you might assume, given their competing territorial claims, that the KMT and CCP wouldn't really get along. However, because they both broadly agreed on the One China principle, Taiwan became a democracy in the 90s, the KMT have been the more pro-China party, and their main rival, the Democratic Progressive Party, have been the more pro-independence party. Although we should say that their position isn't straightforwardly pro-independence. Rather, most senior DPP figures support the status quo and implicitly claim that Taiwan is already essentially an independent country, so no formal declaration of independence is actually needed. Anyway, the KMT are generally more popular amongst older, more rural voters in the east, while the DPP are generally more popular with younger, more urban voters in the west and around Taipei in the north. In recent years, the DPP have become the dominant party in Taiwan's politics, winning every presidential election since 2016. Electorally, the DPP have been helped by the fact that Taiwanese attitudes towards mainland China have soured in recent years. And this shows up in the polling. People in Taiwan increasingly identify as Taiwanese rather than Chinese, with the percentage of people saying that they identify as exclusively Chinese falling from about 25% in the early 90s to 2% today, and the percentage saying that they identify as exclusively Taiwanese rising from 18% to 63% in the same period. Similarly, people in Taiwan have become less likely to support unification with the mainland, with the percentage of people saying that they support unification, either now or later, falling from about 20% in the early 1990s to more like 5% today. Interestingly, this hasn't given way to a massive increase in support for outright independence, but rather an increase in those saying that they want to maintain the status quo indefinitely. Anyway, while this has helped the DPP, they struggled at the last elections in early 2024. While they won the presidential election, their candidate, current president Lai Ching-te, won just 40% of the vote, with the DPP actually losing seats in Taiwan's legislature, which is known as the Legislative Yuan. For context, at the last election in 2020, the DPP won 61 seats, 4 above the 57-seat threshold for a majority in the 113-seat chamber, and 23 more than the KMT. At the 2024 election, however, they won just 51 seats, below the 57-seat threshold required for a majority, and behind the KMT, which won 52. A third party, the Taiwan People's Party, or TPP, won a record 8 seats, and the remaining 2 went to independents. And this created a political deadlock, because it left the DPP in control of the executive, but not the legislature. And in the 18 months since, the KMT and TPP have cooperated to basically obstruct the DPP's legislative agenda. Some of the policies that have been blocked are essentially domestic. For instance, the KMT blocked the DPP's energy legislation on the grounds that it opposes the planned phase-out of nuclear energy, which would leave Taiwan almost wholly reliant on imported liquid natural gas. The KMT has also passed legislation cutting public spending, redirecting public funds from central to local governments, most of which are KMT-led, and given the Legislative Yuan more powers to investigate the government and imprison officials if they're deemed to be in contempt of parliament. Many of these changes were struck down by Taiwan's constitutional court, but the KMT and TPP reacted by accusing the court of political bias, and have since refused to replace 7 of the 15 judges that retired at the end of last year, rendering the court unable to deliberate on subsequent bills passed by the KMT. With the court disabled, late last year, the KMT passed another bill raising the bar by requiring at least 10 justices to deliberate on cases. But some of the policies that have been blocked are related to China specifically. For instance, the KMT have blocked the DPP from increasing defense spending, which the DPP claims is necessary to deter Chinese aggression. At the same time, the KMT has apparently moved closer to China. KMT officials have made multiple visits to Beijing and frequently echo Communist Party rhetoric about how the Taiwanese are Chinese people who want, quote, integration with the mainland, despite the fact that polling suggests that this just isn't the case. This sparked outrage across Taiwan's civil society, not just with China-skeptical groups, but also with groups upset by what they see as the KMT's legislative overreach and budget cuts. This is an important thing to understand here. Their pro-China stance isn't the only reason that people are annoyed with the KMT, and even some Taiwanese who agree with the KMT's basic claim that cross-strait tensions will be better managed through dialogue don't like how chummy the current crop of legislators seem to be with Beijing. Anyway, in protest, these civil society groups decided to organize recall elections against KMT lawmakers. To force recall elections, petitioners needed to gather signatures from 10% of legislators' constituents. This triggers a recall election, where if at least 25% of eligible voters vote, and more than half of these support the recall, the legislator is dismissed and barred from running in that constituency for 4 years, with a by-election organized a few months later. Astonishingly, these petitioners have successfully organized recall elections for 31 KMT legislators, with 24 of these elections happening today and the remaining 7 for August 23rd. If 12 or more KMT lawmakers are successfully recalled, the DPP would gain control of the legislature, at least until the by-elections. While the DPP weren't originally involved in the recall movement, they've lent their support to it in recent months, provoking fury not just from the KMT, but also Beijing. Anyway, this makes what happens later today and on August 23rd make or break for the DPP. If these recall petitions fail, Lai Ching-te will remain a lame duck president for the next 4 years, paving the way for yet more political stasis. If, however, the recall elections succeed, this will both break the political deadlock, at least until the by-elections, and probably force the KMT to change their tone. As you may know already, here at TLDR, we're committed to learning about the world around us and helping you to do the exact same. And luckily for all of us, our sponsor this week, Brilliant, helps with just that. Brilliant helps you to become a better thinker and problem solver with thousands of visual, interactive lessons in maths, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. Not only does Brilliant offer the perfect mix of engaging problems and competitive features, it also keeps you motivated with daily encouragement, and their app makes it easy to learn wherever you are. Instead of mindless scrolling with those extra pockets of time you find in the day, you can give your mind a workout with Brilliant's growing collection of programming courses. From learning Python to developing an intuition for computer logic, you'll get hands-on experience with real programs and learn to think like a programmer, building your problem-solving skills to thrive in the evolving world of programming. Plus, all of the content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more. To start your learning journey and try Brilliant for free, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description. By doing so, you'll get 20% off an annual premium subscription, and they'll know that you came from us, which really helps us out.